Libby, the Virginia race really is the most important contest of 2017. It is, Virginia's a key swing state. It used to be a red state, became a purple state, it's become a little bit blue, but it really is a window into whether Republicans can win or how they can win in Donald Trump's America, whether Democrats really are going to benefit from a backlash to President Trump's policies. The governor's race, which is held every 4 years, always 1 year after the presidential election, is typically a good window into what is going to happen later on.
Okay, so we're on the eve of the election. What are we already learning?
Well, Libby, the race has tightened. It has become very close. Ed Gillespie, the Republican candidate, former chairman of the Republican National Committee, he's a very traditional establishment sort of Republican. And he is a guy who built a national reputation calling for Republicans to do more outreach to Latinos, Muslims, African Americans, to be a party of inclusivity, a party of the Big Tent.
Now, wait a minute. If I was just watching this race without knowing him, I would have no idea of that because he has gone negative.
He has. And so this guy, someone said he's gone from being a Big Tent Republican to a small yurt Republican. And it just might work. It may be a successful strategy.
Northam cast the deciding vote in favor of sanctuary cities that let illegal immigrants who commit crimes back on the street, increasing the threat of MS-13.
Well, you wrote in the Daily 202 that the dirty little secret of campaigns is that people know that negative ads work.
People hate to admit it. All of us, understandably love to complain about negativity and how much kind of the nasty attack ads that pollute our TVs every October are, but they persuade people. That's why campaigns run these ads, because they actually move the needle and they can drive up the negative views of your opponent. And so that's what Ed Gillespie has very successfully done. Our poll that the Washington Post conducted a month ago showed that it was a double-digit race. Now it's closing. It's a 4 or 5 point race, and both campaigns agree that it's going to be incredibly close. It's likely to be within the margin of error, and the race is tightened in large part because of these negative ads. Whether you agree with them or not, whether you think they're misleading, in some cases they are, in some cases they're not, none of that really matters. What matters is that the race is tightening because of this strategy, and it's a big change for Gillespie.
So if you're Ralph Northam, the Democrat, do you go as negative as Ed Gillespie? One of the most negative ads we've seen of the campaign season came not from the Northam campaign, from a group called the Latino Victory Fund.
So this group, the Latino Victory Fund, decided that the way they were going to try to get people to the polls was to scare them, basically, and to run this 1 minute ad. It's very over the top, and it's for little children. They're walking down the street, and a pickup truck that's flying a Confederate flag with an Ed Gillespie bumper sticker on it starts chasing after these kids. And so it sort of, in some ways, helps Gillespie because it shows these Trump supporters who may not like Gillespie very much, like it's sort of an us against them thing. And so the Democrat refused to condemn it because they are concerned about getting higher turnout among Latinos. It's only 5% of the electorate in Virginia, but that's not nothing
that can make
when
all
it's
the
a margin
difference.
of error race. And so our poll showed that a slight majority of voters, 51%, thought Gillespie has run a mainly negative campaign, but 37% of voters thought that Northam has run a mainly negative campaign. And so it is frustrating to people on the Northam campaign, like, wait a second, we haven't run these like completely over-the-top ads, and voters sort of have this pox on both your houses mentality. And so Northam has felt compelled, because the race has moved. Everyone agrees, Republicans and Democrats, that this race is tightened. So Northam has gone on TV with a straight-to-camera ad where he tries to reassure people, look, it's disgusting. I'm a pediatrician. It's disgusting that I would support pedophiles. Like, of course I don't. I don't support Latino gang members like killing Virginians. And so there's this adage in politics: if you're explaining, you're losing. And so maybe that applies here a little bit.
On the other hand, though, he has an opportunity to say, I'm a pediatrician, right. I'm a veteran, so he gets to give his credentials in a way that tries to take a high road.
And you can't let these attacks go unanswered. And so there is.
We learned that from the Swift vote.
We did, yeah. Exactly.
And what's so amazing is it may all come down to a handful of voters who decide whether or not they're going to make voting a priority. And that could have ramifications, not just of this governor's race, but then of how political watchers interpret these results and think about 2018 and 2022.
So I was meeting with some people who are closely involved in the battle for control of the House of Representatives next year, Republican operatives. They're obsessively watching every development. They're studying every ad. They're doing their own focus groups in Virginia to see how people are reacting to some of these messages that we're talking about.
So they're learning things regardless of the outcome.
Regardless of the outcome. But if Ed Gillespie wins, and remember, this is a guy who used to be Big Tent Republican, now small yurt Republican. If Ed Gillespie wins, you can expect a lot of similar kind of ads next year in House races across the country about sanctuary cities, immigration, MS-13, the Latino gang.
Confederate statues.
Confederate statues in certain states, not others.
Yep.
And so you're right. Regardless of the outcome on Tuesday, both sides are going to learn lessons. But it's funny, there's already a lot of pre-spin, pre-recriminations about what happens. So if Ralph Northam, the Democrat, loses on Tuesday, there's going to be a lot of finger-pointing in the Democratic Party. We spent a lot of time talking about Trump and the Republican Civil War, but remember that guy, Tom Perriello, lost the Democratic primary in June, somewhat narrowly, to the Democratic Lieutenant Governor. And if Northam loses, I think you're going to have the Bernie Sanderses of the world out there saying, what happened was we nominated a moderate. We nominated a guy who voted for George W. Bush twice. In order to win, we need to nominate Bernie-style liberals. And that may inflame some contentious Democratic primaries around the country next year. So that's why I think sometimes, I love Virginia politics. I'm obsessed with it. I've covered it for a decade now. But sometimes we can overread the lessons, inevitably. But it will also be funny on Wednesday to watch kind of everyone try to make the case that whatever it is they want in politics, that the election result somehow validated that approach.
I will be reading the 202 on Wednesday morning to see what
do.
you come up with. James Hohmann, thanks so much for
Thanks,
talking with
Libby.
us. I'm Libby Casey.